you always talk about how you don't want your clients to be the first, right? You never want them to be kind of the first to test this new technology or to look at a new system just because there's no proven roadmap, there's no successful implementations, and you're just very cautious of that because it can be very risk averse. How are you handling that now that a lot of these technologies are
Yeah.
newer? How do you assure quality assurance on that implementation?
I think that not wanting to be the first that goes live on an ERP package that didn't exist until today is a dramatic risk, right? And for me, ERP, CRM, MES, being the first to do that is a dramatic risk because you go live in a big bang and nobody's done it before. It's like when they first tried to land on the moon, they didn't know if anybody was ever going to survive the lift off, let alone make it there, let alone make it back, right? So the first time is always the highest risk. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not talking about an industry where there are going to be a lot of first times. And being the first in this creates a humongous advantage. So
Mhm.
for me, I think the incremental nature and the incremental type of
Yeah.
approach of this is how you manage that risk. You take a small piece of technology that can do a lot, and then you manage it well and you manage your risk well, incrementally have your minimum viable products going out, and you can say, all right, now we did something small that worked. Now we have something that's learning. We have this little piece of technology now that we can grow. That's where I would start. And then that way you get into the Amazon approach, which is fail fast, right? That's very, very agile in its nature also. So if you start it up, you fire it up and it goes boom, so what? It was small. We know we're talking AI. We know we're talking about something that's early adopter type of technology and even past that point now at this point. But we know that there's a risk. We want that risk to be as small as possible, but then we want to learn from it so we do better next time. That for me is what we should be doing in AI so that when you start getting there, you start gaining confidence in your model. Then that way, as your confidence grows, you can gain in confidence in teaching it more new things. Again, small and incremental can also be fast as well. So that I think that these all go really well together.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And that makes a lot of sense. Should ERP systems be embedded with an AI system or should they kind of stand alone?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that, right? Your ERP, if it's mature, should be your single source of truth of data, right? That's pretty common. Or you may have a master development or a master data management system, MDM, which could be your source data, data warehouse, data lake, whatever. That for me is where your AI should live. It should have this nice little lakefront cabin on your data lake, and just be able to thrive there, right? Consume that data, and be able to draw conclusions on it. That's my thought process is your AI should live where your data lives. And if your ERP is your single source of truth, that's where it should live. Now, should your ERP vendor provide that? They probably speak their own data language the best. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to teach an AI to learn that data language, right? That's the part of it. But again, you get back to if you have bad facts, they'll draw bad conclusions based on your data. So you got to have a nice clean set for things to work with. That's my opinion. I really like the idea of going out to the market though and being able to do more. For me, the larger organizations have so many more things to do and spend their money on. That AI
Mhm.
is one of them. Finding somebody whose job is AI and that's what they live and breathe, you're going to find somebody who that's what matters the most to them. And so you're going to get a whole lot more cutting edge technology. And I believe that's where if you're looking to adopt AI today, you should be living on the cutting edge of it. My personal opinion. What do you think?
Yeah. So I don't think it should be embedded in your system because I don't think that they are mature enough to have that kind of, if you have a clean core, whatever you want to talk about it, taint it. I think there can be an integration point, certainly, but I think it's too risky to have them kind of integrated in or embedded, I should say, in one another, just because that AI maturity isn't there yet. I also think that opening that up creates cybersecurity risk. The more openings you have to your bigger core system, the more dangerous it becomes, which, just ask DeepSeek how that went for them as well. So that's a real consideration. And I also think that when we do AI, we need to kind of break it down. AI is automation. So if you have automation involved in your supply chain, your manufacturing process, that is artificial intelligence, right? So you're already utilizing that in some areas of the business. Scaling those to other areas of business will be much easier if it's not embedded in your core system. So that's my thought on it. As always, as Adam is very nicely dancing around, it depends, right? And that's the point of this conversation. It totally depends on what you're trying to achieve, what environment you have, what industry you're in, what you're trying to actually have the objectives to be able to do. And that's why we preach go find someone that's going to help you decide
Yeah.
that. AI is not a strategy. Increasing revenue is a strategy. That's measurable, right? Being more process efficient, that's measurable. But just saying we want to have AI, that's cool. I want to have a BMW, but why? Do I want to drive faster? Do I want to have more luxurious ride? All of these different pieces, there's an objective that needs to be focused on that. So, moving into kind of that objective, a lot of times that's set by leadership of the organization, which totally stereotype here, but is the least likely to understand the nuts and bolts of AI. They hear it in the industry, they want to be competitive, but at the same time, they have no idea what that means. So, how do you become a really AI focused leader without, not giving tangible strategies to your team to actually implement?
Well, I think you need to be partnered with folks that have that skill set, right?
Mhm.
That's you need to have a trusted network in your AI environments, and that's the biggest piece of it for me, right? If you're not an expert in something, you find somebody who is. Executives aren't going to whether or not they're good at it. I think doesn't really matter at the end of the day. They have other jobs to do. If your CEO's job is AI, they're going to be doing a lot of AI things and not a lot of other things that are the part of their job, right? If your CFO is focused on AI, they may get a lot of benefit in that, the finance space and crunching numbers. But if they're not paying attention to the numbers, which is their job, you're going to find that those things are slipping. So being able to divert attention to the right places, your CIO should be thinking AI, your CTO, those types of roles there that are designed to have that technical component as part of their job description, I think is appropriate. But just as much being in a space where you can have a trusted advisor and a second set of ears and eyes helps you. There's nothing wrong with saying, I have a CIO who's very good with AI, but that doesn't mean that we can't hire somebody who can help them, because that CIO also will still have other parts of their job they have to handle. And throwing in additional thought processes of somebody who can focus on the AI side of it is really an advantage. From there, you can start thinking about how it is you engage with a wider industry. I'm a big fan of having partners that can help you. There's nothing wrong with that. Organizations hire partners and consultants and those types of things for everything. Lawyers are the best example, right? You hire a lawyer because they have a particular skill set, and go find yourself a Liam Neeson in AI, right? So that's my personal opinion on it. Maybe I'm biased because I happen to live in that space, but I think it's you got to realize that AI is something that's being added onto people's plates right now. And those
Mhm.
plates, I would be shocked if anybody on this conversation is saying, well, my plate has room for more. We're all very busy, right? So
Yeah.
get some help.